Hello everybody and welcome to the third video in this Flask blog tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how we can actually create posts, so how users can sign in, create a post, and then have all of those posts showing up on the home page of the blog. I'll also show you how we can view all of individual users' posts. So let's say I have like 6 or 7 different posts. You can click on my name and you'll see all of the posts simply by me. So with that said, let's dive in. Alright, so right now we have a working login and sign up page. However, we have a very small error, and I just realized this after filming this intro. So right now I'm actually signed in. You can see that because I can access the home page, but it's only showing me the login and sign up kind of buttons in this navbar. Now that doesn't really make much sense. If the user is logged in, I probably shouldn't show them these two. I should show them the log out button. And so what I'm going to start by doing is just making this navbar only show the login and sign up button if the user is not logged in. And if the user is logged in, then what I will do is show the log out button instead. Then after that, just to give you kind of a vision of what we're going to do here, I want to turn this home page into kind of the main page of the blog. So when you go here, you'll see everybody else's posts. So just in chronological, like time order, you'll see all of the posts that all users have made. And then what you can do is you can click on a user's username and you'll be able to view all of their posts, kind of like their blog. This will be kind of a half blog, half social media site. Regardless, just wanted to show you or tell you that's kind of the vision for this tutorial right here. Okay, so first thing we need to do is change that navbar. So I'm going to go to templates and base.html, and inside of here, I am going to start changing some of the stuff on the navbar. So notice right now I have home, login, and sign up. Now what I want to do is add a log out button, and so I'll just add one right here, and we will say that this is going to go to log out, and this will say log out. Now what I can do inside of here is I can actually check if the current user that I have is logged in or not. So what we'll do is we'll check if the current user is logged in. If they're logged in, then we will show the log out and home button. Otherwise, we will show the login and sign up button. So what I'm going to do here is put an if statement, and I'm going to say %% if user.is_authenticated. I don't know if I spelled that correctly. Okay, let's do that. Then %% and if. So we'll do this. Oops, if I could type properly. And then I'm going to put an else here, and then I'll just rearrange where I have these nav items. So I always want to show this home button, so we can do that right here. And then if the user is authenticated, I don't want to show login. Instead, I want to show log out. So I will put log out inside of the main body of the if statement. And then inside of the else here, I will show the login and sign up. So if the user is authenticated, then we will show log out and we'll always be showing home. Otherwise, we will simply show login and sign up. Nice. Okay, so that should hopefully work for us now, but notice that I called or used this user variable, and I'm not necessarily passing this user variable to this template, so I need to make sure I'm doing that. So what I'm going to do now is go to my views, so auth and views.py will start inside of auth, and what I'm going to do is pass to the render template the variable user. So I'm going to say user is equal to, and this is going to be current user like that. So when I do this, this will pass the user object that represents the currently logged in or not logged in user. And then inside of here, I can do this check and check if the user is authenticated. Now, when I check is authenticated, that simply tells me, is the user logged in or are they not logged in? Obviously, if they're logged in, this will be true. If they're not logged in, this will be false. So this comes from Flask login. Notice how I imported current user up here. So we need to make sure in all of our views we're passing user equals current user. So what I'm going to do is go down here to sign up. Same thing. I'm going to pass user equals current user. We don't need to do it in logout because we're just having a redirect. But if we go to views.py, okay, we have name, but instead I'm just going to make this user is equal to current user. Okay, so now we should be passing the current user in all of our views. So if I go back here and I refresh, okay, it logged me out because I refreshed there. Notice it's showing login and sign up. Let's log in here. I made an account, which is tim@gmail.com. And then my password will be this. Okay, email does not exist. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. All right, sorry about the cut there, guys, but I realized we have a small error. Very easy fix, but essentially any account that we created during one run of our website was instantly deleted after the website was reran or the server was reran because we weren't actually creating a database. Our database was simply being stored in memory, and then as soon as the app reran, all of the accounts that we created, well, they just disappeared and were deleted. That's because I had a very small spelling mistake here, inside of init.py. Notice how this says SQL_alchemy. This needs to be SQL alchemy, so no spaces. I've made that mistake a few times now. So now when I save this, notice that this reran and we actually see this database.db file. So you probably may have noticed that in the previous tutorial, it wasn't actually creating this file. Now we have this file, and so when the application is rerun, we should actually have all of the accounts that we created still created and stored in the database. So let me just make a new account here because obviously my account's gone now. So we're going to say tim@gmail.com, tim 1234567 and 1234567. Okay, so sign up, user created. Now notice it's showing me home and log out. It's not showing me the sign in and sign up. So if I press log out, please log in to access this page, I guess because it redirected me to the home page. And now what I can do is log in. So tim@gmail.com, 1234567, log in, and then notice it's showing me these right here. Perfect. Okay, so that is all good. Nice. So now that we fixed those small errors right there, we can actually get started on creating posts. So the first thing I want to do to create a post is make an HTML form here that allows us to actually, well, make the post. So I'm going to make this on a separate page. And what I'm going to have is a button on the home page that says create a post. And when you press create a post, then it will redirect you to this page where it'll just be a very simple form with just a text box and a button, and you can just type out what you want and we'll make a post. Now you guys could add images to this and other attachments and stuff in the future if you want, but for now we're just going to do simply text. All right, so to do this, we need to create a form. Let me just go to my cheat sheet here to make sure I don't mess this up. So actually the first thing we'll do is make an h1 tag. This h1 tag can be in the center of the screen. So we'll say align equals center. And then quite simply, we will say make a post. And I believe center here needs to be lowercase. All right, so make a post. That will be our h1 tag. We're then going to make a form. The method is going to be equal to post because we're going to post data to our backend. So let's end the form here. And then inside of the form, we're going to put a text area. So text area name is going to be equal to text. The ID will be equal to text. And the class will be equal to form-control. That's a bootstrap class. All right, we can end the text area. So, /text area like that. Nice. Now we're going to do a break line just to make sure we go down to the next line and there's some spacing. I'm now going to make a div. This div is going to be aligned in the center. And then inside of here, we're going to put a button. So we'll say button like that. We will end the button. And then the type will be equal to, and this will be, submit. And the class will be equal to btn-lg, and then btn-primary to make that a nice blue color. This button will say post, and then we will end the div here and save. And I think that's all we need. So let me just check here and make sure I didn't mess anything up. I think we are all good. All right, so this is the HTML for our create a post page. Now we need to make a view for this so that we can actually render this page. So let's go to views.py. Let's go at views.root. We can call this create-post or /create post. And then this will be at login required as well. You can't make a post unless you're logged in. Define, this will be create_post. And here, what we will do is actually say that the methods allowed for this will be get and post, because we want to be able to get the HTML of the page. We also want to be able to post data to this view. That data will be the text that makes up the post from the user, right? So let's just start by returning the HTML. So return render template. The name of our template here is create_post.html. And then we need to make sure we pass our user. So user is equal to current user. All right, so that's all we need for right now. So let's rerun our application and let's see if this works. So let's go here. Let's refresh. Notice I'm still signed in because now my database is actually saved. And if I go to create hyphen post like that. It brings me to the make a post page. I have a text area and I can press post. Awesome. Okay, so now we need to handle what happens when you press post. So the only piece of data we have is our text. So we just need to grab that from the form attribute of our request when the method here is post. So we're going to say if request.method equals post. We're going to make sure we import request from the top of our program here. So if request.method equals post, then we're going to say the text is equal to request.form.get, and this will be text. Okay, we're then going to make sure that we actually have some text. So we'll say if not text, then what we want to do is flash the message saying, let's say post cannot be empty, and the category is going to be equal to error. We need to make sure we import flash. So let's import that right there. So if that's the case, we will flash that. Otherwise, that means we do actually have some text. So we need to create a new post using this text. So for now, I'm just going to flash a message saying post created, exclamation point. The category will be equal to success. Nice. Okay, so we will now actually end up creating a post, but to create a post, we need a database model that's going to store the post. So let's go back to models.py, and now we're going to make a model that will represent our post. So we're going to say class post. This needs to inherit from db.model. Notice how I'm not inheriting from user mixin. That's because this was a special class we only inherited from our user class that we're using to sign in and log out users. In this case, we'll just have a regular database model. This is called post. And now we need to, define all of the columns or fields that each post is going to have. So we have to think about this for a second. What do we want each post to have on it? Well, first we need an ID. So we can copy this because this is going to be the same for all of our database models. We need an ID that is unique, that is the primary key. Then what else do we need? Well, we need the text associated with a post. So I'll say text is equal to, and then db.column. This will be db.text, and this will be null. What did I want to say here? Nullable equals false. So this just means we must have some text. You can't have no text associated with a post. Then after that, so after we have our ID and our text, we probably want the date that this post was created at. So let's do that. Date created. We can just copy this field right here. And then lastly, we need a user that created this post, right? We need to know who was the actual author of this post. So we'll say author is equal to db dot, and then this is where it gets a little bit tricky. This is where I'm going to talk to you about something called foreign keys. All right, so let's talk about foreign keys and how you can actually relate database models and tables together. So as I was saying, we need some author that made this post. The thing is, though, I need to make sure that the author actually exists, right? Because what I could do is I could do something like db.column and then db.integer. And maybe this column here is just going to store an integer that represents the ID of the user who created this post. Now that would work. I could just put the ID of the user and then I would be able to access the user using its ID, but this does not enforce that the user actually exists when I create a post. So what I mean by that is I could make a post and I could pass for author some random integer representing the ID of a user, but that user may not actually exist. So that's kind of one problem that you're going to run into there. Another problem is that I don't really have a good way to find all of the posts that a user has created if I do it in this way. So if I just do this, I just store the ID of the user, I can find all of the posts that the user's created, but it's a lot less efficient. And well, I'm going to show you kind of the proper way to actually relate two tables together, because ideally from the post, I want to be able to access the user and all of the information related to the user. And from the user, I want to be able to access all of its posts. So this is where we talk about foreign key and what's known as a relationship. So what I'm going to do here is say author is equal to db.column, db.integer, but then I'm going to add a foreign key, okay? So foreign key like this. So I think it's foreign, is it like that or is it underscore key? I got to check. No, this is correct. So db.foreign key. And then what I'm going to do is put the name of the table and the field in the table that this foreign key is going to reference. So I'm going to say user.id. So by default, even though this class name has an uppercase, inside of the actual database, this will be represented with a lowercase. So this table name in our actual SQL database is lowercase user, not uppercase user. And so I'm accessing the table using a lowercase. So user, that's referencing the table, and then ID is referencing the ID field in that table. So I'm saying whatever integer is here must match one integer on the user table in the ID field, so I know which user created this post. Then what I also need to do here is add something called onDelete. So I'm going to say onDelete is equal to, and then cascade. And does cascade need to be in capitals? Yes, it does. So we're going to go cascade like that. So what this is saying is when I delete the user that this table is referencing, I want to cascade and delete all of the posts that this user has. So that's what this onDelete is doing. If you don't add this, you will have posts associated with a user that has been deleted. So let's just make sure if the user gets deleted, all of the posts that the user has gets deleted as well. And then the last thing I need to add here is nullable equals false, just to make sure this table must have a value and it cannot be null. Okay, so that is the author field. So I've added the author field, and by doing this, now I'm able to access the user who created this post. But from the user, I want to access all of their posts. So now what I need to do is create something known as a relationship. So I'm going to say post, notice how this is plural, is equal to db.column, and inside of this column, or sorry, it's actually not db.column, it's db.relationship. Inside of here, what I'm going to do is put the name of the table that this post is referencing. So in this case, it's going to be post like that. And then I'm going to add the two following things. Backref is going to be equal to user. I'll describe what this is in 1 second. And then I got to look here. I'm going to add this passive, like this, underscore delete with plural is equal to true. So let me describe what I just did here. So on the user model, or on the user database table, I'm now adding a new column called posts. Now this column is going to be a relationship, and what that means is this is going to reference all of the posts that this user has. So any post that has the author, which is equal to the ID of the current user, there will now be kind of an addition on this user table that references all of the posts that this user has created. So that's why the relationship is going to post. Now, what is the backref? Well, a backref stands for back reference, and this means from the post, how do I access the user object that created the post? Well, what I do is I use .user. So this is a little bit confusing, but by adding this back reference, what this allows you to do is rather than using this author field here to access the ID of the user, it allows you to actually write something like post.user. So let's say we had some posts created. We have P is equal to post, and let's say we filled in all of the values that we need, okay? Now, if I want to access the user that owns this post, I can do p.user, and this actually gives me access to all of this. Whereas if I did p.id, this would give me some integer, not the actual user model itself. Hopefully that kind of makes sense, but that is what back reference does, and we'll use this in a minute. And then passive deletes, this kind of goes hand in hand with the cascade thing. This allows all of the posts to be deleted when this user object is deleted. So if you want to make sure that's the case, that all posts get deleted when the author of those posts is deleted, you need passive deletes equals true and onDelete equals cascade. Okay, so that's about the best explanation I can give you. If you don't fully understand it, that's fine, but this is how we set up a relationship, a one-to-many relationship. One user has many posts. Awesome. Okay, so let's continue now. So now that we've created this model, what I need to do is go back to init.py, and I need to import this from my model so that it's created when I create my database. So from.models import user and import post, okay? Now we're going to go to views.py, and we're going to say from.models import post. And now what I'm going to do is when I have my create post here and I actually get some valid text, I'm going to create a new post. So I'm going to say post is equal to post. I'm going to say that the text is equal to the text. I'm going to say that the author is equal to, and this will be current user .id. And I believe that's all I need. I don't think there was anything else we had on this post model. Nope, date created and ID will automatically be generated for us. So now that I've created the post, I need to add it to my session. So I'm going to say db.session.add, and I'm going to add the post, and then db.session.commit to actually save the post in the database. Before I do that though, I need to import db. So I'm going to say from dot import db, and now I have access to that database object, so I can actually use this. So that should actually create the post for us. So let's go ahead and try this out. I'm going to go to python./app.py. I'm going to now go back here, refresh. Okay, so let's just press enter like that. And let's see what happens now if I actually type something in. So hello, my name is Tim. Okay, I press post and we get some error. It says no such table post. So the reason I'm getting this error here is because we need to recreate the database, because this database here is kind of stale. It has only the user model in it. And the reason it only has the user model in it is because we haven't recreated the database when the server reran, because it already exists. So if you look at init.py here, we have this function. This function creates the database for us, but it checks first if the path already exists. So what we need to do is delete this database. So we just manually delete it. And then we're going to refresh our app here. So let's just stop this and rerun it. And now the database should be recreated. And this time it should create the post table. Hopefully that makes sense, but whenever you get that type of error, just manually delete the database and then rerun the app and it should recreate it. So if you're adding or changing around all of the models and stuff, you'll have to do that. There's other ways to get around that, but for now, this is kind of the easiest way. So if I refresh this now and I continue the form resubmission, okay, I got to log in. So let's actually create an account because we've deleted the database. So tim@gmail.com, Tim, and this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sign up, user created. Okay, let's make a post. So /create-post. Okay, let's go. Hello, my name is Tim. Let's press post, and then it created the post. Awesome. So that actually worked. We got that flashed message. Now we need to actually view the posts, and we want to redirect the user back to the home page when they actually create their post. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go back to views.py. We've now created the post, and after we create this post here and we flash the message, let's return a redirect, okay, to the URL _4, and this will be views.home like that. Okay, so we now need to import both redirect and URL _4. Okay, that's fine. And what were we going to do next? We now want to view all of the posts on the home page. All right, so what I'm going to do now is inside of the home page, when we go to the home page, I'm going to get all of the posts. The way I'm going to do that is by saying posts is equal to, and this is going to be post.query. And actually, I think I can do all. Yeah, we'll do post.query.all. Let me check if that is correct. Okay, so that is correct. And then what I want to do is pass all of these posts to this template right here so I can then access them inside of the base template. So what I'm going to do is say posts is equal to posts. So now inside of the home template, I should have access to the variable posts, and I can start looping through all of the posts and showing them on the screen. So we'll make this look nicer in a minute, but for now, let's just see if we can actually view these posts so we can test if this is working or not. So let's go to home.html, and inside of the content block here, we're going to start viewing all of the posts. So we're going to make a for loop. We're going to say %% for post in posts. We're going to end the for, and then we're going to see if we can just view the post.txt. So we're going to go like this and say post.txt. Now this may not work, but it also may work. Let's see if it does. So let's just go here and refresh. Oops, we want to get, so we'll do that and then go back to the home page. And there we go. We get hello, my name is Tim. So we actually are able to view the post. Nice. Now, obviously there's some more things that we want to view associated with each post, but for now, that's pretty good. So let's now see if we can also view maybe the author of the post. So that's the post text. But after we view the post text, how can we view maybe the username of the person who posted this? Well, what we can do is say post.user. And then username. So if we do that and we refresh here, notice it says, hello, my name is Tim, and then the username of the person who created the post is Tim. We access that by saying post.user.username. Now notice if we just did post.author like that, what this would give us is the ID of the user who was the author of this post. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the difference there. Nice. So that is all working. Now that we've done that, I want to view these posts a little bit nicer, right? I want a nice little box for them. I want the date they were posted at. I want to actually see the username. So let's start writing some HTML to actually view the post in kind of a nice format. So we will continue in 1 second, but I need to thank the sponsor of this video and this series, which is Algo Expert. Algo Expert is the best platform to use when preparing for your software engineering coding interviews. They have 160 coding interview practice questions, which really are the best resources to prepare for any technical interviews at large tech companies. Get started using Algo Expert today by clicking the link in the description and using the code TechWithTim for a discount on the platform. Okay, so let's start writing some HTML to display the posts. The first thing I'm going to do here is make a div. I'm going to say div ID is equal to posts. We'll put the for loop inside of the div. Now, outside of the div, I'm going to put an h1 tag just to say, hey, these are all the posts. So I'll say align equals and then center and then posts and then slash h1. Okay. Now we will keep the for loop inside of our post div, but I'll delete this for now because we're going to display this a little bit nicer. What I'm going to do is use a card to display all of my posts. A card is kind of like an outline box that has some nice properties from Bootstrap. So we're going to make a div. We're going to end the div. The class is going to be equal to card with a dark border, so border dark. So that will be our card. Then we want a header for the card and a footer for the card. The header, which is going to be kind of like a top bar, will show the username of the person who posted the post. And then we'll have some main text that will be the actual post text. Then we'll have the date and time that the post was posted at. So we're going to make another div here. This div is going to have a lot of classes on it. We're not necessarily utilizing all of them right now. You'll see in a second why we need them. So I'm going to say card hyphen header. This is going to be d hyphen flex. This is going to be justify hyphen content hyphen and between. And then this is going to be align, hyphen items hyphen center. So again, I'll discuss why we need this in 1 minute. For right now, you can actually just leave it as card header, but I'm just adding these classes here so I don't forget to add them later on. This is because we're going to show like a like button and there's going to be a comment button and a delete button and stuff. And so this kind of aligns the buttons nicely, but we're not adding all of those right this second. Okay, so that's the header. So inside of the header, what I want to do is show the author of the post. So I'm just looking at my kind of cheat sheet here to see how I'm going to show that. I believe I'm going to do this with an a tag, so a link. I'm going to say href is going to be equal to, and this is going to be slash, and then user slash, and then inside of the variable here, I'm going to put the username. So I'm going to say post.user.username. So when you click on the user's name, it will redirect you to the page user slash their name where you can view all of their posts. So yeah, I guess we can do, actually, we can say posts. That makes a bit more sense. And then I'll end the a tag and I will put inside of here post.user.username. Okay, so before we go any further, let's just refresh the page here and see what this looks like. So if I refresh, notice now I get a card and it's showing me the username. When I click on this, it brings me to a page we haven't yet created yet, but that's good. It's working. So it's showing Tim. Nice. So now what we want to do is actually have some content inside of our card. So I'm going to make a new class here. This class is going to be called card body. So div class is equal to card hyphen body. I think that's all we need here. Nice. I'll end the div. And then inside of here, we're going to have another div. This class will be equal to card hyphen text. And then here, we're just going to put the post dot text. Okay, so let's end the div. Let's save and let's see what this is looking like now. So let's refresh. Notice now we get hello, my name is Tim. So nice. We have the author, we have the text of the post. And finally, I want the date and time this post was posted at. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to add another div. I'm going to say class is equal to, and let me go find this right here. This is going to be card hyphen footer, and then text hyphen muted. And inside of here, we are going to put a date. So we're going to say post.date like that. And this is actually, date created. Okay, so let's refresh this. And now notice we get the date and time that this post was created at. Perfect. So hello, my name is Tim. This is by Tim, and we have our date and time. So now we can actually see all of the posts. Now, the last thing I want to add here is the ability to delete a post. So how do we delete a post, or who should be able to delete a post? Well, only the person who created the post should be able to delete it. So what I'm going to do is put in kind of an if statement and a little button that allows you to actually press a delete button only if you are the author of the post. So we're going to create this delete button on the card header. And the point of this is that the delete button will be on the far right-hand side, and you can kind of press on it. It will show you a little drop-down menu. That drop-down menu will say delete. You can press delete, and then it will actually delete the post. And we'll implement that functionality in a second. So let's go inside of the card header, and let's add a div. This class will be called button-group. It may be btn group. Yeah, it is btn group. So btn group. Let's now end the div. And inside of here, we're going to put kind of like a drop down button. So we're going to say button, and this is going to be type is equal to button. Class is equal to btn, btn-sm, which stands for small button. Then we're going to say btn-primary because we want this nice blue color. And then this is going to be drop down and hyphen toggle like that. Okay, we're going to end the button like that. And what we're going to do is add one more thing here, which is going to say data-bs-toggle is equal to, and this is going to be equal to a drop down. Okay, so this is just saying, what are we going to toggle when we press this button? Well, it's going to be the kind of drop down menu that we create called drop down. Okay, so now underneath here, we are going to say UL. We're going to start a list. This list will be for all of the buttons in our drop-down menu. We're going to say LI. We're going to end the LI. This is going to say delete, and the UL is going to have the class equal to drop-down-menu. Okay, we're then going to put a link inside of our LI, our list items. So href is going to be equal to something. We'll define that in a minute, and then we will end the A tag. Now this is going to have a class which is equal to drop down item. So drop down -item. And for now, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so let's just do a quick summary of what I did here because I just wrote a lot. We have a div. The class is equal to a button group. That's because we're going to have multiple buttons in the drop down menu. Well, in this case, we only have one, but we could add more. We have a button. This button is type button, class btn, btn small, btn primary, and we are toggling the drop down toggle, or the class's drop down toggle, so it's going to toggle the drop down to come down. We have data bs toggle is equal to drop down, and then we have a class drop down menu. We have a list item, which is delete, and then we end the list of all of our drop down buttons. Okay, so when we press on this button right here, it should toggle these to come down. Okay, so let's just try this quickly. Let's refresh. Notice our button is on the right-hand side of the screen. And when I press this, it toggles delete to come down. Awesome. That is exactly what we want. Now, when we press delete, right now it doesn't do anything, but I will make it so it goes to a page that deletes the post. Nice. Okay, and the reason why, again, we wanted all of this stuff is so that delete button went to the far right-hand side of all of our, posts. Okay, so now what we're going to do inside of here is make this go to delete-post/ and then this is going to be the ID of the post that we want to delete. So post.id. Nice. Now we're almost done. The last thing I need to do is make it so we only show this button if the user is actually the owner of this post. So only if the user that's logged in wrote the post that we're seeing are we going to allow them to delete it. No other user can delete this post. So we're going to do an if statement, %%. If user dot ID is equal to post dot, and in this case, we can just say author because that stores the ID of the user who created this post. So if that's the case, then we'll show all of this. So we can just end the if down here. So it will say %% and if. All right, so if I refresh this, it should still work. We should still see the delete button because we are the author of this post. But now if I log out and let's create a new account. So let's go sign up and let's go tim2@gmail.com. Tim2, make a password. Okay, sign up. Now notice it's not showing me the delete button because, well, this isn't my post. So let's make a post, create -post. Let's say hello test post and see now that I can actually press the delete button on the post that I created. All right, we're getting close to done here. A few more touches we need to add. Obviously, we don't want these posts smushed together. So what I'm going to do is add a break line at the end of my for loop so that there is kind of a space between all of my posts. So let's go here and let's add a BR. And now if I refresh, you should see that there's a bit of a space. So I just added a BR right before the end of the for loop. So after all of the cards that I create, we're going to have that break line. Nice. So now what we need to do is make it so that we can actually delete the post. So when I press on this button, it should redirect us to a page called delete post. That's going to take the ID of the post that we want to delete. We should then delete that, refresh the page, and well, be good to go. All right, so let's do that. Let's go to views.py and let's make a view that can delete our post. We're going to say add views.root. We're going to say /delete-post/ and then I'm going to show you how we can add a variable to our path here. So you add angle brackets like this, and then you put the name of the variable that you want to kind of grab when someone goes to this route. So this is called a dynamic path or a dynamic route. So if I say delete post and then I say ID, what I can do now is say define delete_post. I can put my ID inside of here, and whatever the user types in for the ID of the post will be passed to this function as the parameter ID. So this says you could go to delete post, and then after that, you're going to have some parameter. This can be whatever value, and that's going to be called ID. Then inside of here, we'll grab the ID. We'll check this is the valid ID for a post. We'll make sure the person trying to delete this post is the correct person. And then, of course, we'll delete that post, or is the authorized person, sorry. Okay, so we're going to make this login required as well. And what we're going to do here is we are going to actually, we can leave this as a GET request. We're going to start by checking if there is a post that has this ID. So we're going to say post is equal to post with a capital .query .filter_by. We're going to say ID is equal to ID. So again, we're just checking if there is some post that has this ID that we would have passed through this parameter. If there is not, so actually we need to add a .first here to get the first result. So we're going to say if not post, then flash post does not exist. Okay, and the category is going to be equal to error. Okay, so we're going to flash that, and then we're going to return a redirect for the URL _4, and this is going to be views.home, because we're actually going to kind of go to this page, try to delete the post, and then just automatically redirect them back home. And in fact, I'm realizing we can actually just put this here because no matter what happens, we're always going to redirect them back to the home page. All right, so we're going to flash that. Now, else, we're going to check if the current user is the owner of this post. We're going to say elif the current _user.id is equal to the, post.id. So if this is the case, we can delete the post, but we can actually make this a not equal to. Okay, so now we will flash a message and we will say, you do not have permission to delete this post. Okay, and then finally else. So if the post does exist and we have the right to delete the post, then we will delete it. So to do that, we're going to say db.session.delete post and then db.session.commit. And then we're going to flash the message post deleted with the category equal to success. All right, so I think that is all good. So that should actually work for our delete post method. So we have delete post, we take an ID, we check if this post exists, we get the first result if that post does exist. We then check, okay, is the post here? Do we have a post? If we don't have a post, the post doesn't exist, we flash this. Otherwise, we check if the current user, so the logged in user, actually did create this post. If they didn't, then you don't have permission to delete this post. Otherwise, we actually delete the post and then flash, yes, you deleted the post, and I'll just add a period right there. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to rerun the app. I am going to go here and refresh. Now I'm already signed in as Tim2, so I'm going to try to delete this. When I press delete, we get post deleted. Awesome. There we go. Now let's just see what happens if I go to delete-post/1. If I do that, you do not have permission to delete this post. Now I'm noticing that it doesn't seem to be showing me this in red. So let's quickly fix that so we make sure the error message shows up as an error message, and we can do that by going to base.html. Okay, so if I go to base.html and I find my message flashing, which is this mess right here, we will check, okay, so if the category is equal to error, then we are showing this. Otherwise, we are showing this. Okay, so this should be working because the category should be equal to error. I'm interested in why we're not getting this, because if category is equal to error, we should show the alert danger. Otherwise, we should show this. Okay, so give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so it turns out that was quite a silly mistake. I'm sure you guys probably noticed that when I was doing this, but I forgot to add this category equals error to this flashed message right here. So when it was showing this message, it wasn't showing it in red, but now it is showing it in red. You can see if I go here and I try to delete post 1, you do not have permission to delete this post, shows up in red. All right, so that was my mistake. Now let's continue. So deleting the post works. Adding the post works. The last thing I want to do here is make it so we have a little button that says create post. It brings you to the create post page so that you don't have to go to manually /create post. So let's do that. I'm going to go to home.html. I'm going to go underneath the for loop here. I'm going to make a div class, sorry, not class, align is equal to center. Okay, we're going to end the div. We're going to put a button here. So we're going to say button type equals button, class equals btn, btn hyphen primary, and then I'm going to go with button large. I'm going to go slash, and this is button, and I'm going to make this say create a post. Now this should redirect us. So I actually forget if I need to put an A tag around this or not. Let me go look at my cheat sheet. Okay. Yes, I'm going to put an A tag around this that goes to the page that we want. So I'm going to say href equals, and this is going to be slash and create hyphen post. And I will end my A tag after the button. Nice. Okay, so now I have this. So we're going to go to create post, and we have the button, and we should be all good. Okay, so let's refresh. And now we have this create a post button. When I press that, it brings me to this page. Now, the last thing I want to do is make a back button on this page so I can go back to the home page without having to manually go here and press home. So let's do that. Let's go to create post. Let's simply add another button that goes after this form. So we'll add a break line here. So BR, okay. And then this button will be type button. This class will be button, button large, button primary, sure. And then we can make this say back. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to add an A tag. We're going to say href equals slash home, and then this will be slash a like that. Okay, so we now made our button. Let's refresh. And if I go to create a post, I now have a back button. When I press back, I go back to the other page. I'm thinking it might make sense to actually change the color of this button. So I'm going to do that, and rather than making it primary, I'm going to make it the default color, which is kind of like a gray. So if I refresh now, oops, is default not 1? Let's make this secondary. Rather than default, let's make it secondary, and let's see what we get. Okay, that's what I wanted. Secondary gives us kind of that gray button, so now we can go back. And we could change the size of those buttons if we want, but I think for now, that is fine. All right, so now we are going to end off the tutorial by making it so when we press on a user's name, it brings us to kind of their profile where it shows all of their posts. So to do that, we're going to start by creating a view. So our view here is going to be at views.root. So at views.root, this is going to be slash post slash, and then we're going to say username like that. We're then going to make this login required. We're going to say define, and this is going to be posts, I guess, and this will take a username. And then what we're going to do is just query all of our posts. So I'll copy this right here, but instead of querying it by an ID, we're going to query it by a username. So we're going to say username is equal to username, and rather than getting the first result, we're going to get all of the results. So we're going to filter by the username that we typed in here, grab all of the results, and then we're just going to pass that to, actually we could pass it to the home template, but I'm going to pass it to a different template just so that we can make this a bit more unique. So once we get all of the posts by a certain user, then what we can do is say return, and this will be render template, and this template will be posts.html. We'll pass the user equal to current user, and we'll pass the posts equal to posts like that. This should be a plural. Okay, so that's fine. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do here is just a quick check to make sure that the username the person typed in actually does exist. So the way I'm going to do that is say user is equal to user.query.filter_by. I'm going to go username is equal to username, and then get the first result. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't really want to show a page if the user that this person typed in doesn't actually exist. So let's make sure the username does exist. If it does exist, we can do this. We can show all of their posts. Otherwise, we can just flash a message and say, hey, no user with this name, right? So I need to import user. So let's go to models and import user, and let's just make sure the user exists. So we're going to say if not user, then we are going to flash a message. We're going to say no user with that username exists. Okay. The category is going to be equal to error. And then we're going to return a redirect for the URL _for. We'll move this in a second. Views.home. Okay. So let's grab this. Let's put this here. And then otherwise we can do this and we can show all of their posts. Nice. So now what I'm going to do is go to the post.html page. All right, so we're now on post.html. Now what I want to do is I want to have the title of this page be like usernames posts, right? And then I want to have a header that says post by whatever this person's username is. So what I'm going to do here is go to views.py, and I'm just going to pass one more thing. I'm going to say username is equal to username, just so I can access this right here, the variable that's a part of the URL. So now if I go to post.html, I can make the title be username and then '(s) posts, right? So that'll be the title of this page. And then in the same way, I'll copy this and I'll use this for kind of the header that will display on the page. So inside of the content block, what I'm going to do is say h1/h1, we'll say align is equal to center, and then same thing, we'll put this right here. Okay, so now that I have this, I want to display all of the posts, right? And the way I'm going to display the posts is going to be the exact same as what I've already done on this homepage. So rather than me writing all of this code again, what I'm going to do is take all of this code and put it into a template, and I'm going to inherit from that template on both the homepage and the post page. So I'll show you how this works, but we're going to copy all of this code here that's inside of, home.html. So we're going to copy all of that, and we're going to go inside of post div, and inside of the content block, we're going to paste it. Okay, so now we have all of the code that we have from the homepage. Now I'm just going to start kind of reconfiguring a few things here. So I'm going to take this div, which is right here. So this div corresponds with this div tag. I'm just going to move it up so that it ends at the for loop. So notice now when I save this, we have a separate div here, and then we have this div right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating some blocks inside of this template. So I have this header, right? And this header is going to be different based on the page that I'm displaying the posts on. On the home page, I want it to say posts, but on the post page, I want it to say the username's posts, right? So the way I'll do this is I'll say block, and then, oops, this needs to be done differently, %%. I'm going to say block header like that, and I'm going to end the block here. So I'm going to say %% end block. Now I could actually just put this right inside where the text is, so I can end the block there and start the block here. So this way, all we have to do is just type in the text. We don't need to rewrite the h1 tag. Perfect. So that is my block for the header. Now this is all going to be the same, right? This entire div is going to be the exact same for all of my pages. However, this button here at the bottom may not be. So what I'm going to do is just put this inside of its own block as well. I'm going to say block, and I'll just say button, or I can say maybe footer because it's the end of the page. And then I can say %% and end block. So there we go. So what I've done now is I've created this template. This template extends base.html. And now I'm going to go to home.html and I'm going to extend from the post div.html. So post_div, and this is a plural, I believe. Nice. Now I actually don't need to change anything here. I can override the block title like I have done before, and this should just show me the correct page because I'm just inheriting this post div template here, which has all of the stuff that I had before on the home page. Now though, I'm going to go to post.html, and rather than inheriting from base.html, I'm going to inherit from post_div.html. Now I can change the title like this. That's fine. And for the block content, I'm going to get rid of this, okay? And rather than, actually, I'll leave this here, but rather than it being block content, I'm going to make this block header. And then all I'll do is just put usernames posts like that inside of the header block. And I think for now, that's actually all I need to do. Now, I may want to remove the button for creating a post. So the way I can do that is I can just override the block and put nothing there. So I can say block footer, and I can say %% end block. So let's just rerun this and see if this is working at all. But you can see why this is advantageous, because now if I ever change how the posts are displayed, I only need to change them in one place, and both my post page and my home page will update based on the changes made to this template right here. So let's go and refresh this. And okay, we're getting some type of error. I guess it's just not showing the correct posts. So let's try to go to posts/Tim and see if that does anything. No, okay, that's not working. So let me just have a quick look here and see what's wrong. Okay, so I found the error. If you go to the home page here, notice how I was writing block content and end block. Since I was doing that, I was overriding the content block from my postdiv.html. So if you just remove that and you press save, so now you just have the title and you go here and you refresh, notice how it actually shows you the proper post. However, when I click on this here, I get some error. It's saying website.model.post has no property username. The reason I'm getting that is because I've made a mistake inside of my views.py. So if you go here, notice I have, where is it here? Post username equals username. That's not going to work. I clearly cannot query the post by the username. What I need to do instead is query the post by the author. So I'm going to say author is equal to, and this is going to be user.id. So I've now got the user, right? So I have the ID of the user. This is storing the ID of the user who owns the post. And so I'm going to query all of the posts by the ID, right? By the author. So I just need to change that. And now this should actually work properly. So if I go back to posts and I refresh, notice I get Tim's post. There we go. Perfect. The last thing I want to do here is I want to make it so that we have a little back button that brings us back to the home page. So that's pretty easy to do. I'm going to go to post.html. Notice how we already have the block footer. So inside of the footer block, I'm just going to go to the post div. I'm going to copy this div right here. And I'm just going to put a button that goes somewhere else. So rather than create a post, I'm going to say back, and this is just going to go back to /home. There we go. So now I have that button here, same as what we've done before. And if we refresh, we have the back button, and I can go back and it brings me to the post page. Perfect. So with that, I think I'm going to end the video here. A reminder that all of this code will be available on GitHub. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in another one.